So let's think back for a moment when we were in school, say high school or college. Imagine if the student was referred to by the teacher as sir or as ma'am. Personally, I would have been flattered because most of our history, sir or ma'am, those words, they connote respect. A teacher calling a student sir or ma'am, that's just fine. Until very, very recently when everything went crazy. Back in 2018, a professor with many years' experience of philosophy at Shawnee State referred to a student as sir, and then all hell broke loose. This student identified as transgender and had a host of pronouns that they wanted used instead. Well, this didn't sit well with Professor Meriwether. He tried to work out a compromise. Then the university started giving him what we think was something of a hard time. Well, I am pleased to report, let's put up the headline, a settlement has just been reached. The university to pay $400,000 to the professor punished for refusing to use the student's preferred pronouns. Let's meet him right now. Nicholas Meriwether, philosophy professor at Shawnee State. He is still employed at the school, was never fired. There he is on the left. Welcome, Professor. And also Tyson Langhofer. You're the attorney for the professor, senior counsel at Alliance Defending Freedom. Welcome to you both. Professor Meriwether, that was about a 30-second summary. I hope the gist of it was right. Can you tell me a little bit about that moment when you were confronted by the student back in, 2017, 2018, who wasn't too thrilled when you called him sir?
Well, it was a tense moment for sure, but I did try to work out an accommodation with the student, and initially the university was fine with that. I would only use his proper feminine first name or his last name if that's what he wanted me to use. And that was fine, at least for a period of time. But then the university changed course and decided to require me to endorse the transgender ideology that the student wanted me to be forced to endorse. And that's where I had to say, well, I can't do that. The university should not be a place where people's beliefs are coerced or required to endorse an ideology. The university should be a place where people can exchange ideas, debate, and be free to do that without being concerned about being punished for it. So that's why I filed the lawsuit.
Well, yes, free speech is, freedom to say something and freedom not to say something. Tyson Langhofer, what law, what regulation was the university violating when it told the professor that he had no option?
Well, the First Amendment, if it means anything, it means that the government can't punish you if you choose not to say something that it wants you to say. And so this was never about anything that Dr. Meriwether said or did, only about what the university was demanding that he say. And Dr. Meriwether was punished simply for declining to express a belief, a message that he doesn't agree with. And if the First Amendment clearly says you can't do that, the government cannot compel you to do something or say something that you don't want to do.
And Professor, how were you? We've thrown around the word punished. I know things got tense there. Did they take away any of your classes? How were you punished?
Well, I received what is known as a letter in my file, but that was the prelude to being terminated. Fortunately for me, Alliance Defending Freedom was ready to file the lawsuit when that occurred, so it never got any farther. But if it hadn't been for ADF filing the lawsuit, I probably would be terminated by now.
Well, I love it that you had the cavalry ready to help out. By the way, this student, I'm curious if there was ever a meeting of the minds. I mean, when you said, look, let's see if we can find a compromise, this student used some horrific hate speech directed at you. My understanding is the student was not disciplined in any way, shape, or form. What are your thoughts about this student and where things stand now?
Well, as a matter of fact, the student remained in the class and the student performed quite well. The student is very bright. We got along, I thought, quite well all the way to the end of the semester. There were never any more problems, but this really wasn't about the student. I think there's a sense in which the student is not the central, the thing that is most important here. The thing that is most important is that the university had decided to require me to endorse an ideology that I didn't agree with. And so that was actually always the issue.
Well, the U.S. Circuit, the 6th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in March of 2021 found that the school had violated your right to free speech, and a settlement was very much in their interest. I'm curious if either of you gentlemen are familiar with Jordan Peterson. He famously fought a very similar battle against the University of Toronto. All hell broke loose up there when he refused to use these required pronouns. He didn't feel it was fair. Take a look.
I didn't care if transgender people wanted to be called by some pronouns, like whatever. That's something for individuals to negotiate. When the government makes that a compulsion and insists in their legislation that biological sex, gender identity, gender expression, and sexual proclivity vary independently, it's like, no, they don't. That's wrong factually, and you're not going to compel my speech.
Were you aware of him, and was he at all an inspiration to you first, Professor?
I was aware of him. I'm not sure that he was an inspiration. I didn't really think about it in those terms. I just knew that my speech was being coerced and that I could not allow that to happen. But I was aware of who he is. That's certainly the case.
I'm going to let you get the phone, or one of you gentlemen get the phone, and follow up. What was the reaction like? What has been the reaction on campus? I mean, look, we've got woke professors all over the place, woke students. Did they give you a hard time, or were they understanding about your position and your values and where you were coming from? First to you, Professor, again, if you don't mind.
Well, there is a very big divide in higher ed. I think everybody is aware of that. We are a divided faculty here. We're a divided faculty all over the country. And so the feelings are quite strong. I have not received any kind of threats or insults from any faculty members, and the students have been actually quite curious and interested. I think the students deserve to be able to hear this debate play itself out. This is very important to me. The students are very curious about all of these issues, and we need to be able to discuss them and debate them freely without being told we have to take one side or the other in the controversy. And that was exactly what was at stake. The universities are losing their ability to provide a place for ideas to be exchanged, and they're becoming basically an assembly line for one type of thought. And that, I think, really harms the role of the state university in American civil life. So I think that this is an extremely important issue for all professors all over the United States. It wasn't just about me and my job. It's about the role of the university in public life and the freedom professors have to represent their views to their students.
I know you'll put that money to good use. $400,000 coming your way. And finally, to your lawyer, Tyson.
Well, that actually is mostly legal fees. I'll just make that point very quickly. I don't see a lot of that, but that's okay.
Well, Tyson, I don't know. I mean, he was the guy. Maybe you guys can work something. No, listen, Tyson, this is happening all over the country. What's next for you guys? And would you say this is a precedent? What the Sixth Circuit did here, is this precedent? Does this now hold for this kind of debate anywhere on universities, campuses at least?
Well, it definitely does for professors in the Sixth Circuit, and every state that's in the Sixth Circuit. They all can now rest easy to knowing that the university can't force them to speak messages they disagree with, regardless of whether they agree with Dr. Meriwether or not. But unfortunately, there are many, many other people facing this same type of issue. Especially K through 12 teachers throughout the country are facing this type of issue. And it's a big issue. It's not just limited to pronouns. It also implicates parental rights, the rights to know about what their students are doing at school. So we need to continue to fight this battle, but this should give us an encouragement.
Awesome. Professor Meriwether, congratulations. Tyson Langhofer, congratulations to you. Check out the Alliance for Defending Freedom, ADF. Thank you both, and we'll be right back.